Welcome back. It's Susan Gerbic, Psychics Explained. And it's that time again. Let's do another of the many that I have to get through of the readings by Lady Phyllis in what I'm calling Operation Dill Pickle. And we have been doing a series of these. It was an event. I and others attended a gallery reading over Zoom a little over a year ago. And I have just been taking my time getting these videos out because life just interferes. So I'm trying to get them all out now, one reading at a time. Now, I haven't looked at these videos. I haven't looked at these since at least a year ago when I attended over Zoom. There's a playlist for Lady Phyllis, and you will find it on the channel. And you will see that I think there's four already. There's Lady Phyllis Reads Teresa, which is the reading right before the one I'm about to show you. There's the one where she read Trudy, which is totally just heartbreaking. And then there's the one where she reads Diane, who's actually a plant that I put in. And then she reads me, which is Joanne. And that's hilarious. That's the last of the whole 2 hours. Now I'm not going to show you 2 hours. I'm going to show you one reading. I have no idea how long it is. It's probably 5 minutes or so, but I'm going to break in with commentary. So of course it's going to take a lot longer. I apologize in advance, but that's just how it is. We have to stop. That's the beauty of learning how these readings are done, because we're stopping and starting and actually getting into the weeds of this. So I suggest everybody get their pencil and paper out. This is how it works. It's difficult. People have told me that they can't believe that it's so hard to watch, and they can't do it because this is just too hard to watch these things. I'm like, well, how do you think I feel? I pretend you guys are right here with me and watching it with me, because I don't think I could do it just me by myself. And thank you guys for the comments that I've been receiving on the videos. I really do appreciate it. So, just like a minute of background, Lady Phyllis is a psychic medium who has written over 50 books on, I guess, grief and dying. She was trained by Thomas John, who is a hot reader. So we've proven that a zillion times. But I was wondering if she also might be a hot reader, and she is not. She cold reads. So, uh, does she believe she's really speaking to the dead? I don't know. She probably thinks she is helping people. A lot of these mediums do dilute themselves into seeing things into what really isn't there. And the people who are getting the readings are what I call motivated sitters. In other words, they're motivated to see that it all happens correctly, and that they get something out of it, and that they pay, they wait their turn, they wait, make their arrangements to meet with these people, so they're more likely to take something that isn't quite right and remember it as if it was really great. They forget the misses and remember only things that were hit. They reinterpret whatever it is that they hear to be something that is correct. Um, they often don't take notes. They are caught up in the emotions of the moment, and they're not paying close attention. Now, the video I'm going to show you is a video that they mailed me. They emailed me this after our reading. So this is, everybody who got a reading that day got this email with the video in it. So they can go back and look at it later if they want. But in that moment, when your emotions are high and you're communicating with dead people, it's really hard to think super critically, especially how fast this happens. In cold reading, there's a lot of generalities, but there's also a lot of kind of wordplay, a lot of fast talking. People speak over each other, and so you don't really get it until you listen to it again, how how much manipulation is going on. Whether Lady Phyllis realizes she's manipulating, I don't know. So the video I have for you is blurred. And the reason I did that was just for some privacy of the reading I'm going to do. I mean, we're going to listen to. Cold reading does rely on facial clues to some extent. I mean, you can do cold reading over the phone or even by email or a letter. I mean, that's possible, but so there is, we're missing the element of the faces, but I wanted to blur it out because it's just very time consuming for me to blur each scene and do a whole 2-hour video at once. And if I was doing this for a very special reason and I only had like one reading, I would spend a lot more time getting the details of it and, blurring only the sitter, not the medium, or anything like that. But since I've got 2 hours to do and it's over a year long and I just got to get this done, it's all blurred. So I apologize. Get your pencils, get your paper, pencil or pen, and let's listen to this. And as I said, I'll interrupt as I go. And I hope that you guys are going to make some notes and just go ahead and put them in the comments. All right. So I don't even remember what the name of the next person is who's coming up. It might be 10 seconds. I'm sure it's more than that. It might be, I don't think it's very long because I think all these readings were pretty short. Oh, I should say some of these people are her, some of the people that we will be hearing from, some of the sitters are her students and she knows them. And she admitted that at the very beginning of the video, which of course you're not watching right now, she admitted that some of these people are her students. So some of the things you may hear might be hot reading, which means she knows the person. She has information about them already. So some of this might be hot reading, but mostly she just cold reads. Another voice you might hear is somebody named Tracy. And Tracy was the very close assistant to Thomas John for a few years. And Tracy is a full-on total believer. Nothing you can say in the world would absolutely shake her belief that Thomas John was communicating with her child. Somewhere in the last year or two, there was a falling out between her and Thomas John. I don't know what was going on with that. If you know, please let me know. But now Tracy works, volunteers, I don't know, as an aide to Lady Phyllis by helping her out by letting people in the Zoom call and, moderating, I guess, and looking at the chat. Whatever it is they do, she's been helping her. And it's been a year, so I don't know if she's still doing that or not. So if you hear the name Tracy or anything like that, that's who that is. Otherwise, it should be just Lady Phyllis and the medium. I mean, and the sitter. You know what you know what I meant.
Thank you for coming. Hold on, I have to go back and see who speaks to me now.
Yeah, I stay a couple more minutes. Yeah.
I'm sorry? Oh, okay. So you're going to stay a little bit.
Just a couple more minutes, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go to Francis. Hi, Francis. How are you?
Okay, how you doing?
I'm good. Is this your first time, Francis?
Yes.
Yeah, I know, because whoever's on the other side said go gentle. It's her first time. So you've never really had a reading. So again, I'm going to tell you, they come in behind you. It's older generation. To the side of you, spouse. To the front of you, it's a child. So I'm going to ask you, I also have somebody to the side of you. So have you lost a sibling or a spouse?
A brother.
A brother. So he was coming in strong with Teresa. I kept seeing that male next to her. So I think he's been waiting here for a while. I'm going to
mention the name Edward.
And that was him?
Yeah.
Okay. So he was letting you know that he was in the room because he said to me, you said my name, but I never remembered the names when I say it. So I'm going, are you Robert? He goes, no. So it was Edward. So he's letting us know that he's here. And you were pretty close with him? Like you were, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do get the feeling that he was ill for what, like there was something, he was living with whatever it was, but there were problems along the way. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Was there a problem with kidneys, with dialysis or kidneys, or was this? I'm getting definitely an organ that there was a malfunction in the, like there was something going wrong. And what he's showing me is his legs filling up with fluid. So I don't know if he was having some issues with kidneys, but whatever was going on, it was going on for a while, correct?
Yes.
Um, his heart wasn't functioning.
I don't think he had a heart issue.
He's showing me that everything is slowing down. Like I'm not getting one particular organ, but I am getting kidneys not cleaning out. I am getting the heart working harder. Like he's showing me that everything was related to the next one. But I'm
Okay.
not having trouble breathing. Usually, if it's like lung, I'll start getting a tickle in my throat. I just feel he's making me feel sluggish, like I can't move. So
Okay.
I want to say, in general, he wasn't feeling well. But did he not go to the doctor, or was he not? Were they? Was there some kind of misdiagnosis going on with him?
Um, well, he had cancer, and they actually had spotted some, but they said it was too small to do anything about.
Yeah.
And of course, it
Right.
spread.
So that makes sense because what he's making me feel like I can't lift my legs, I can't move, I'm very tired, I feel sluggish, but I can't pinpoint exactly where it is. Like I know what he's showing me is nothing's quite working the way it's supposed to.
Hmm.
So I knew something was wrong, but they didn't quite treat it at the source. And
Right.
then it kind of overwhelms him, correct?
Yep.
And when it overwhelms him, it's like a really fast kind of thing. Like, in other words, he goes from being not sure, it's under control, it's this, that, and the other thing, and then the next thing you know, it's a very short kind of slide to the finish line.
Yeah.
Was he in a comatose state when he passes?
Hmm.
Because I'm not getting hospice, but I'm feeling like he goes in for something and then never comes out of the hospital. Does that make sense to
Well, he
you?
was in a hospital. He did pass in the hospital.
Yeah, he shows me hospital, but not hospice. And I
Right.
feel like he went in for something, and again, they couldn't quite pin down, or they would, whatever it was. It's she's showing me this, like they're missing what had to be treated.
Okay.
And it just kind of my feel, it could even be septicemia, like it just kind of overwhelms him, like what, maybe even the treatment overwhelms him, but whatever it was, he's showing me like a tidal wave just washing over him. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm just being washed away. And he says, I gotta tell you, not ideal, but it's better than suffering. Do you understand?
Hmm.
Oh boy, that's quite a bit. Now, my partner, Mark Edward, just died of cancer, and you know, 3 months ago. And he was here at home. We had him home and went through the whole cycle, everything with him, and it was a great honor to be able to have somebody trust their life with you, to be able to do this kind of thing for them and help them die with dignity. And we'd been together 15 years. And so it is, as once you've gone through it, is what I'm trying to say. There are things that are typical. And for Lady Phyllis, who's probably done thousands of readings, she's probably very versed in all the vernacular and the way people die, and the statistics on how likely it is that he probably died from an illness that was sort of fast and sort of slow and sort of this and sort of misdiagnosed and in and out of the hospital, and it happened and then it goes quick, and then all that is all of that would have applied to my husband, to my partner, Mark Edward, because that's really what it's like. So unless he died from like falling out of a plane or something, or a car accident where it was really unanticipated, a lot of what she's saying to this woman is very typical. Like I said, it's pretty similar to what happened to Mark. And in a lot of ways, it's very vague. some of the things she was talking about was that, something that happened to do with his organs, something happened where he was misdiagnosed, and then they didn't quite know what was going on, and then they did, and then he's there for another reason, and then they get some kind of other care, and then there's a heart issue, slowing down. He feels very sluggish. He wasn't feeling well. Now let's think about this. The man died. Do you think he was feeling great right before? And again, those words mean something. Soon, quick, slow process, or not feeling well, sluggish, and time words, like I said, like fast or slow, or it took a while, or it didn't take a while. It started out taking a while, and then all of a sudden it just went really fast. And all those things are relative. Again, that would fit my experience 3 months ago with Mark Edward, and actually would fit when I watched my mother die. That all fits. So what she's saying is vague enough that to the person she's giving a reading to, who wants to get a reading and who's motivated to find value in what she's receiving, then it kind of fits. I mean, she's named just about everything: his organs, his kidney, any organ, just name an organ, any old organ, his kidneys, legs filling up with fluid, his lungs, well, what else is left? Your brain, I guess, but that's an organ, isn't it? So something about the misdiagnosis, that's a common thing that psychics say, and I wouldn't be surprised if we hear a lot more of that in the other videos that of the readings that I've done with her. Cancer. She never said cancer. The sitter said cancer. And was he comatose at the end? Yeah, usually you're comatose at the end. You don't usually be like, hey sis, let's play Jenga. Can you get the Jenga game down? I'm really feeling pretty good. And you're out. No, it doesn't usually happen like that, right? And the thing about hospice and the hospital, that's kind of a guess. It's usually the person dies at home, just dies, or they bring in hospice, which is what we did. And oh my gosh, hospice is amazing. Or you bring them to the hospital and that's where they die. So, I mean, there's not a lot of other choices in there. They die on their own, they die at home with hospice, or they die at the hospital. I mean, there's just not a lot of other choices. So she's just playing the odds. It's not that big a deal. Oh my gosh, it's so vague. When you really think about it, she kind of hit a lot of everything. When she kind of realized it was a slow death and that, So let's go back to the very beginning where she says, it's your first time getting a reading. And then she tries to take credit for that by saying, because they're telling me this is your first time, like the dead is telling you to go slow, go easy on her because this is her first time. Now, what's probably going on is that in the chat, while they're waiting, it probably says something about, this is my first time getting a reading of any kind. Or when she booked the appointment, she might have exchanged some messages with Lady Phyllis, which I did whenever I was booking the readings, or with Tracy. It's not that uncommon. They are reading a chat, and I don't have the chat here in front of me. I think I've downloaded the chat. I think I did. So yeah, I think I have the chat if I wanted to go look. So I believe that you could just download it. It's not a problem. And then the other thing that bugs me is this idea that the dead are just hanging around waiting for their turn, like they're in line. And because she was talking to Teresa earlier than this reading, and Lady Phyllis mentioned the name Edward and the other reading, now it is associated with this woman. And the person who told her that was the sitter. So the sitter says, you were talking about an Edward earlier. And she says, oh, yeah, I was. Is that his name? And she says, yes, his name was Edward, which is a very common name, mind you. Edward is extremely common name. It's also a last name, i.e., my partner, Mark Edward. Duh. So that just helps out a lot. So this idea that they're just hanging out, waiting, like, like take a number and it's going to be your turn pretty soon. So Lady Phyllis didn't bring up Edward. So if the sitter had not mentioned Edward, would Lady Phyllis have tried the name Edward? Again, here she is relaying the last moments of this woman's brother's life, the bad, excruciating, weary, not his whole life where he's lived. None of that. He's reenacting for her his death. Now, why that is, I don't understand. I mean, I guess if you like ghost stories from history, they do tend to have, repeat their end, especially if it's a violent end. I mean, it's supposed to be scary, right? But if you start talking, when you listen to a lot of these readings, I mean, the last reading, the grandmother came through and she was knitting doilies and had like a prize ribbons on her doilies she was making. She made these little rosettes and she was complaining about kids these days that don't know how to crochet. So the dead, according to Lady Phyllis, can talk about things that have nothing to do with their last moments in life. So why would they choose to do that whenever Edward's been hanging out, right? He's been sitting here hanging out for when his sister, what's her name? Frances, shows up. And he's all excited to talk to Frances because he's been hanging out there, right? And all he wants to talk about is his last moments. We don't know if Frances was there or not. She kind of sounds vague, like she wasn't there. And that's what he's got to say. And Lady Phyllis did not know that it was her brother. She said, is it your spouse? And the sitter said, no, it's my brother. Because she said, right away, I'm getting somebody beside you. We talked about this in the last video. What the heck does that mean? So if Lady Phyllis can visualize a form, a male form, a female form, where they are if they're behind you, they're older than you, the generation ahead of you. If they're in front of you, then they're a younger generation. If they're beside you, they're your contemporaries, your brother, sister, cousin, spouse, friend that's your age. That would be that. So all she said is, I'm seeing somebody next to you, and I believe she says a male. And then that's when and she says, do you have a spouse that has died? And she says, no, I have a brother, and his name is Edward. Okay. So I don't know how it's going for this Lady Frances yet. If she's, I don't know, maybe she's going to be all in on this, or maybe she's going to feel like she wasted her time and money on this, because so far, other than Phyllis giving her mentioning the name Edward, I mean, it could have been anything. This woman's probably got more than just a brother who's died. She's probably got lots of people in her life that have died. Just happened to be that Lady Phyllis mentioned the name Edward earlier. Okay, let's go back and see. We're a couple minutes into this, so we should have a couple more minutes. I don't think Lady Phyllis is doing all that great. So let's see where she goes with this. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yes.
It's better than, like, I think that he would be horrified if he had to wear a diaper, and like, that wasn't who he was. He didn't want someone else. I'm going to say what he's saying, so don't take this the wrong way. He didn't want someone else wiping his ass. Do you understand?
Yeah.
All right. So
It sounds like him.
well, I'm just repeating what he's saying. And so what he's indicating is he had reached a point where there was no coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do keep hearing, and it could belong to somebody else, but who's Bobby? Is there a Bobby or a Robert related to him?
Can't think of anybody.
Okay, so I'm going to go. Now, your father's on the other side,
Yes.
and your mom is on the other side.
Yes.
Did they go over there very far apart?
Yes.
Yeah, like your father went over many, many years ago, and your mom followed.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And did someone, um, let's say with your father, what he's telling me is today he would have been alive because there wasn't the treatment for whatever was going on with him, that whatever was wrong with him, that the treatments were I don't want to say barbaric, but they weren't knowledgeable enough to handle what was wrong with him. Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, my grandfather died of coronary congestive heart failure. Today, they'd give him a diuretic and he would have lived. I'm not saying he'd be alive now, but he would have lived past 62. And I feel like with your father, what he's indicating is whatever he went in with, maybe today they would have been able to treat it. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. But I get a quiet dignity out of your father. Like he didn't make a fuss. He kind of just was a quiet man. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense? Didn't complain. And it's like, I also feel like he was here one day and then one day he just wasn't.
Right.
But I don't feel suddenness with him. Like, I don't know if did he die in the house?
Yes.
Did he die in his chair while he was watching TV?
His hospital bed that
Yeah,
we had in the house.
but he dies in the house.
Yeah.
And I feel like he just kind of like, you were all there, but maybe you weren't in the room and he just goes when nobody's looking.
Right.
Yeah. He like slips away because he didn't want to fuss. Like he's not the guy who wants anyone waiting at the gate screaming at him. Like kind of quiet guy. And did he play golf?
Yes.
Okay. So he wants you to know he's got the golf clubs. I don't think your mother's too happy about that. And I'm going to ask you also if the name Irene or Renee mean anything. Irene or Eileen or Irene or Rennie. Does that mean anything to you?
No one departed.
Well,
I've got
no.
a
How about
oh,
here? How about,
here.
yeah.
I just attended a 70th birthday for an Irene.
Okay. So that's their way of letting you know that they were there with you. So even
Okay.
if you're not related to her or whatever, but they want you to understand they've never left. Now, your mom is showing me flowers, but they look artificial. Do you have a table with artificial flowers on it or something?
She used to do artificial flowers and everything just to make it look pretty.
Yeah, yeah. And did everybody hate them?
Yeah.
She says, "Well, tough luck. I'm still doing them."
Right. Let's pause again because it just gets to be a lot. So let's just talk about what we've heard so far, and there should probably only be one more time. So it just is very crude. I know Lady Phyllis is saying that the man wants to say this part about wiping his ass, and he doesn't want to wear a diaper. I know she's making it sound like that's what it's doing, but it's one of those kinds of things. It's just very crude, and knowing that the medium is just making this stuff up out of her head, they do this to get some kind of humor because there's not very many people in this world. Again, she's just playing the odds. There's not a lot of people in this world, especially a man who's dying, and she already knows he's dying, died of cancer, that would be like, oh yeah, I'd be great about wearing a diaper, and oh gosh, yeah, it'd be great if somebody had to wipe my ass. I mean, of course she's going to get this guy who says that making that statement, the sitter would say, yeah, that sounds like my dad. Um, then she's asking about a Bobby or Robert related to him, which is really interesting because there is no Bobby or Robert in her family. And again, Bobby, Robert, very, very, very common names. Then your father is dead, right? And she's like, yes. And your mom is too. Well, considering this woman is probably in her 70s, it's pretty likely her parents probably have died also. So that's not a big deal. She says, were they years apart? And that is pretty common. Usually, again, playing the odds again. And Lady Phyllis has done lots and lots of readings, so she knows how this works. You play the odds that the woman is usually younger than the man, and usually the woman outlasts the man. We already know that. And by years apart, it could be 3 years, it could be 40 years. So by saying, and it was years apart, right? And a lot of times they nod like this so that you know to just assume that means whatever it is that really was true. 3 years, that is years apart. So remember, Lady Phyllis can see this woman. We can't see her because it's blurred. But if the woman is kind of starting to nod her head and make agreeable motions with her face, her facial expressions, then Lady Phyllis can just roll with it. We can't pick that up. We're only hearing her voice. But it is pretty typical that the woman follows the man, usually by a few years. And it's also pretty common, and this is true with my father too, that, and probably everybody listening is anybody you know who's died. If it's somebody who died of an illness, 20 years ago or something like that, or 10 years ago even, they probably have better standards of care now. Science is changing so fast that it's making it usually easier for people's lives to be prolonged. Mark Edward died of prostate cancer, and he would have died years ago. In fact, in 2018, he was diagnosed. Oddly enough, he had prostate cancer when we did a reading with Thomas John, and Thomas John talked to him about heart problems and didn't mention prostate or cancer or anything of the sort. So nice fail there, Thomas John. We might have been able to catch it early if you had just told us. But because of science and good care and taking care of him and so on, Mark Edward was able to live a lot longer and a better quality life in the last 5 years than he would have if this had happened to him maybe 15 years or 10 years or even 10 years ago, possibly. So that's a statement that kind of makes sense, right? That he would have better care now. Quiet dignity, quiet man, here one day and gone the next. Okay, so lots of times the psychic will look at the demeanor of the person that they're the sitter, and they can make assumptions about what the parents might have been like. And this woman is pretty calm, and she is kind of, yeah, okay. She's not one of these people who are jumping up and down and crying and waving her arms or something like that. So it's pretty likely her parents, both her parents were probably, chill kind of people. Sometimes the psychics will make a statement like these. And again, they're looking at them. So if they start to make the statement, they're looking at the person. If the person seems to be nodding, or if they're like, like that, then they know, oh yeah, he's very quiet, but that was odd for him. That wasn't normally his stay. And then the person's like, yeah, he was outgoing. He was, oh my gosh, he was a performer. He was never quiet. But then again, you think about these statements. Even the people who are the most extroverted, which I'm an extrovert, have downtimes where they're quiet and they're introverted and thoughtful. That's me. And just about everybody else who has a personality of any kind. If you're introverted, there are moments that you may actually be a little extroverted, right? So it just fits. And I have heard mediums who say it and then they get it wrong. And then they say, well, now that they're on the other side, that's how they're presenting themselves. Or they could say, I know you saw them as a quiet, shy person, but when they were young, they were actually very outgoing and very extravagant. And In other words, you can't lose. Whatever the medium says, she has an out. And I love this. He's here one day and gone the next. What else? What are the alternatives? You're here one day and you're not here the next. Wow, that's clever. What did she just say? Nothing. But it sounds good, right? And the woman's like, yeah, yeah. And did he die in his chair watching TV? Oh, she said, did he die at home? And she says, yes. And then she said, did he die in his chair watching TV in the house? And she goes, well, he was sitting in he was laying in his hospital bed. Oh yeah, same thing. And then, and then, oh, and this is her father, right? So this is not her brother who died in the hospital. So she knows it's a totally different person. Was he there? And he goes when nobody was looking. And he wanted it that way. In other words, he made the decision to die when he did. That the moment he died was he was waiting for everybody like to look the other way or something like, hey, squirrel. Oh. I don't know. It just feels very odd. Again, it feels extremely uncomfortable that the psychic, who we know is making this up, is focusing on the last moments of somebody's life instead of talking about their entire life and how it was and what it was like. Again, she hasn't mentioned the father's name. We don't know the mother's name either. We know nothing about the father or the mother. All they are now is caricatures of a dying person, an elderly dying person who has cancer, and that's about it. That's all we know. It's just people are so much more than that, and it's just sad to bring him down to that. Did he golf? Now, if she had said no, she would have said, oh, well, he's golfing over on the other side now. Or he always wanted to golf and now he's got a chance to golf. Or if she said, did he golf? And she says, no, he couldn't stand it. And she goes, yeah, well, he tried it and he didn't like it before. So now he's doing it. Or she could say, did he play golf? And she would say, no. And she would say, but did he like music? What she would do is just move on with another statement that would maybe fit. And then the woman, Frances here, would completely forget about the fact that she had thrown out golf to her and that it didn't hit. She would forget that and she'd go, oh yeah, she said my dad was very musically inclined. Now, lots of men play golf, especially if they make it into their retirement years. They're able to go play golf. It's a thing, bowling, golf, fishing. Those are things that men do a lot of times in the retirement years. Working on cars. Did he like to watch TV? Did he like to play the guitar? It's all common things. Also, if she had said, did he play golf? And again, listen to her voice. Did he play golf? She's saying it with a question mark at the end of it. And Frances might have said, no, but my mom did, or no, but my brother did, or no, but I do, or no, but my husband does. Then all of those would be answered with, right, because that's what he's saying. He's watching you play golf, or he's watching your husband play golf, or he's watching, him and his wife. Now they're playing golf. Got it? The other thing is being with your wife on the other side sounds all hunky-dory like a Hallmark movie, but we're talking like all of eternity. There's lots of things that you'd probably like to be doing besides still being with your same spouse. I mean, maybe, but personally, I'd like to go visit with some of these other people who've died and ask a lot of questions. There's a lot of mystery out there that I'd like to learn. And as I always say, I'd like to see if Agatha Christie's got any good murder mysteries she's developed and written while she's, if she's over there, because I love Agatha Christie stuff. And my gosh, she was clever. And that would be really interesting to see what she's come up with in the last 40, 50 years since she's died. Wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be something else? Wouldn't you like to hang out and see what's new with them and all those mysteries of life that crimes and um Shakespeare, well, not really just Shakespeare, but kings and queens. I mean, can you just go visit with them? I mean, it seems like they would be okay with hearing from somebody modern and Queen Elizabeth, or I'd like to hang out with Eleanor Roosevelt. That would be really interesting. And all those people, Abraham Lincoln, let's go hang out. Can you have lunch with them? Maybe play a round of golf with them or something like that. I mean, this guy's over there with golf clubs. That's what you're doing with your afterlife? Well, I guess. Anyway, she still hasn't named him, and I find that very odd. So his wife is not pleased. So that's what I mean. He's over there. He's got all of eternity. He's still with the same woman he married. He's playing golf, and she's not happy about it. That doesn't sound like heaven. I mean, is it just continuation of your life here? What about the people he loved in the past? Does he get to go hang out with his old girlfriends? I don't know. It just doesn't feel like much, right? So it's just your life just goes on as it does now, except that what? You don't have to do the dishes or you don't eat? No, they say that they eat. Irene, Renee, Eileen, anything, any of those Ryan names like Ryan Little Lila names, any of those fit. And then Francis says, "Oh, nobody who has died." In other words, there is somebody that is alive. And she goes, "Oh, well, who is that?" And she goes, "I just came back from a 70th birthday party for my friend Irene." And so Lady Phyllis takes that as a win and says, "Ah, that's why she's saying Irene, or they are saying Irene, because they want you to know that they were with you at that party." Why did she just say, "I was watching over it at that party. I was watching over you at Irene's party"? Why does she have to say I so vaguely Irene, Eileen, Arena, Rowena? I wrote Renini or something like that. And now we're going to artificial flowers. And it was obvious from the way Frances said, yeah, she's got artificial flowers, because that it was annoying that they never thought it was pretty, because she goes, yeah, and people didn't like it. And she goes, no, nobody did. She put them everywhere. Artificial flowers on a grave is very, very, very common. So pretty likely that Lady Phyllis was talking about these artificial flowers being taken to the grave. And so that's probably where she was going. But Frances volunteered, oh, my mom used to put artificial flowers all over the place because she thought it was pretty. Actually, my mom did too. Maybe it's a generational thing. You out there, tell me, let me know. People born in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, your family, did they also use artificial flowers? Okay, I think we're almost done. So let's go back to the very last bit, and then I'll join you right after that. So I hope you're taking notes.
Do you have one of hers? Do you still have something of hers? Because I'm going to tell you what she's saying. She's funny. She says you have something of hers, but you have to dust it a little bit. I don't know what it is. Do you know what she's talking about? I don't know if it looks like a knickknack or it looks like one of those artificial flowers or something, but it's dusty. And
It could be. I do have a flower upstairs, yeah, stuck in a little basket.
Yeah, she says it's very dusty. You gotta like get one of those blow things to blow it out, like they do with the keyboards. She says, we know about that stuff here.
Yeah.
So you gotta blow that stuff out. Do you have any questions?
Does anybody have any specific messages for me?
They love you. They're around you. They're happy that you've kept up the traditions, and you have. You have certain family traditions that, and they do say that they're showing me there've been ups and downs in your life. Like you've had highs and you've had lows, and the lows were very hard. and they want you to know that you've never been alone on those lows.
Mm.
You know, your family has surrounded you. Was your brother your only sibling?
No, a sister's still alive.
Yeah. Are you not speaking with her?
We're not real close.
Yeah, because I want to say that they feel like your family, when as they passed, you felt like your family kind of disintegrated. Do you know what I mean? And you
Okay.
were feeling there's a loneliness that sets in, that you feel alone. And what they want you to know is you are not alone. I don't know if I asked you this name, but I hear Helen again. Did Helen belong to you? Helene? It may belong to, just like Edward sounded
Yeah.
before. It could be we have a Helen that belongs to somebody else. But they want you to know. Are you going on a cruise?
No.
Are you planning a trip?
No. Maybe I'm supposed to.
Well, maybe you are, because do you not go places? Did you stop since COVID and you haven't?
Pretty much so. Yeah.
I think that's the message. They want you to get back out there.
Okay.
Who keeps a diary?
I used to, but I don't anymore.
I think they'd like you to keep a diary again. You used to
Oh,
keep, and it was very important to you, this diary, right?
yeah.
They love it when we write. They love it when we write, especially if we're not thinking and we write. That's called automatic writing. And very often we get messages when we write. And they may be able to give you messages when you write. And if you're not thinking and you just write what comes into your head, you may look at it the next day and say, oh my God, that's something my mother always said. Or you
Mm.
may have an answer to a question that you're wrestling with. Are you having some trouble with your feet right now?
Yes.
Yeah, they said make sure you take care of it. Are they suggesting surgery?
Not at this point. No, I just recently went to the neurologist and we're dealing with it.
Right. They want you to take care of it. Like, don't ignore it.
Right.
So you have like neuropathy in the
Yeah.
toes?
Yeah.
Yeah. They want you to definitely take care of it. You know,
Okay.
um, your mother says buy support stockings. There's an answer for everything. All right. Well, it was nice meeting you. I'm sorry for your loss.
You too. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Oh man, geez, my mom has died and she wants to talk to me and tell me to go and dust off the artificial flowers in the upstairs room. Get one of those blow things. Let's blow the dust off of that. Really? Get support stockings. Make sure that you go to the doctor that you're already going to and have them look at your feet that you're already being looked at. Make sure you go do the thing you're already doing. God, thanks, Mom. Wow, wasn't that amazing? Was that to the standard that these people tell us all the time that there she gave me information, told me things that there's no way anybody else could know, right? Well, this is all standard stuff for somebody about her age. Do you have something of hers? Do you have something of hers? Of course she has something of hers. Do you need to dust it? Well, yeah, people's houses got, boy, I can't turn my camera here. Was your, she says, were there any specific messages? The woman asked, are there any specific messages from anybody? Because you ain't giving me crap, Lady Phyllis. I need something specific. She goes, oh, yeah, they love you. They're around you. And let's see. Oh, you've been keeping the family traditions alive. What does that mean? Putting out pumpkin bread or something at Thanksgiving time, or what? I don't know what does that mean? Coloring Easter eggs? Does it mean knocking 3 times on the door before you come in? What kind of tradition are we talking about? It could be anything. So it's not saying much. And then she says, they're around you during the highs and lows of your life. And whenever you're at your lowest, they want you to know that you're there. So it's a bunch of platitude crap. Your brother is you're the only, you and your brother are the only children, right? You know, kind of thing. And she's like, no, I still have a sister that's still alive. See how they volunteer information so that now that she can use that information, picking up on the nuances of how you say it. Yeah, I have a sister, she's still alive. She goes, well, are you speaking to each other? Well, we're not very close. That still doesn't mean, are you speaking to each other? Yeah, of course we're speaking to each other. We're just not very close. And Helene, no. Again, Helen, Bobby, Robert, those are all common names. Irene, I don't know. Maybe for somebody in their 70s, Irene would have been a common name. Are you going on a cruise? No. Are you going on a trip? No. That's the message. They want you to go do something. And if this was a year ago, sorry, this was over a year ago. So 2020, I think it was Christmas 2024. No, this is Christmas 24, Christmas 2023. So we were just coming out of the times where we were locked down all the time. And it has taken people a while to get used to going back into normal, especially if you're alone. And you don't, if you had a young family and you've got vacation time saved up from work and you had to postpone your cruise or your trip, getting back to normal was probably faster. But for people who are retired, who don't have to worry about vacation days necessarily, or lose it or use it or lose it with your vacation, a lot of times there isn't a hurry. So this woman hasn't quite gotten back to whatever is normal for her, but it doesn't sound like going on trips and going on cruises was really normal for her before. So just throwing out there, yeah, they want you to go on a cruise. They want you to go on a trip. They want you to go out there, get out there. Who keeps a diary? Or who kept a diary? Well, I'm throwing out that question to you guys listening to right now. Who kept a diary? Who didn't keep a diary, especially women? And somebody in your family kept a diary. Or she could say, it's somebody in your family you don't know about. Sorry. I had the fireplace going and the smoke is drifting into this room here. Burning firewood. I love the smell of it, but it's a little much right now. Let me get my blowing fan thing here. Maybe I'll go dust some artificial flowers that I must have laying around here somewhere. I have a fan. I wonder if I could do this and dust. But if that would work for dusting, that'd be pretty great, Oh my goodness. It's so embarrassing. It's so lame. Who keeps a diary? Well, somebody did. And she says, I did a long time ago. It was important to you. Well, yeah, I was keeping a diary. So it was important to me. I'm laying out my thoughts and I was going through a rough time. And so, yeah, it's important to me. Maybe to keep it private. It's important to me. They love it when we write. Really? I'm writing. Look at all the writing I'm doing over here. And she gets into automatic writing. So automatic writing is this thing in the spiritualism community where you just supposed to go into like a trance or something, and you're just got a big piece of paper. Sometimes they would use like tables covered with butcher paper, or they would take wallpaper and they would flip it over so it was this giant roll of it, and then they just sit there and go like this in a trance with their eyes closed or whatever, and then they just write, and then they take the writing and they'd hold it up and they'd look to see if they found words or symbols or drawings in it. Sometimes they turn it to the side, sometimes they turn it upside down. There's maybe they'd look at it with a mirror to try to find the message that they're getting from the dear departed somewhere. Of course, you guys know that is all nonsense, right? Because it's just a pareidolia. You will see something in there. And she says, well, maybe you'll see something like what your mom used to say. And if you are writing and you're trying to write and you're trying to write, like, let's say, like free association, that you're actually trying to write something, I don't see why you wouldn't write something that you commonly say, or something you heard somebody in your family say a lot. I mean, why not? But it's still, and then she goes into this, your feet. Okay. In a later reading with Trudy, I've already released the video, it's on the playlist. She talks to her about her feet. So you're having problems with your feet? She's like, yeah, or whatever she said, Trudy said. Same thing with this one. How common is it for somebody in their 70s to have problems with their feet? Pretty common. So having problems with your feet, or you will have problems with your feet, or you just had problems with your feet, any of those would fit. And by saying you're having problems with your feet, well, I had problems with my feet. Now they're better. Sorry. I'm gonna have to get some more water or something. Hold on. Sorry about that. Well, in your world, nothing changed. I come back and I've got like my hair's grown 4 inches or something. No, sorry. I had to get something to drink and I got a cough drop. Well, I'm almost done. So she says that, you have feet problems. Is it surgery? In other words, she doesn't know. No, not yet. Well, they're telling you not to ignore it. And she's like, yeah, I know. I'm not ignoring it. Why don't you make sure you take care of it? Yeah, I know. I'll take care of it. Get some support stockings. Get a cough drop, Susan Gerbic. All right, I guess I should end it here. I'm having a coughing fit. Thank you guys for being here with me. Please like and subscribe. Please leave me comments. I've got a bunch more to do. I think I've got another hour and a half of readings to do, and they're all like 6 or 7 minutes long. So this is going to take me a while. Take care, everybody. Ta-ta for now.